Well, Toots is a different is a I mean Toots is a different restaurant because it's the first in Malaysia to be serving this specialty food. We are so focused in one specialty cuisine, which is the Egyptian cuisine. And the challenge was that when we first started Toots, are two things basically. Number one is the cuisine again is so new, alien, and very confusing as well. Some people they confuse it with the Arab cuisine. So we had the challenge of educating people that yeah, everybody knows Egypt, but no one knows what they eat there. So we had the challenge to communicate that to customers. Number two, to overcome the confusion of uh, Egyptian cuisine with Arab cuisine. So again, in few lines, this is Toots is just like a different eatery that comes with a different concept, different cuisine, and we are challenging the norm in a way that we want Malaysians to adopt a new daily option for food. So we are not saying that this is sort of like a culture food that you have every now and then and that's it. No, we're saying that this is the food that we eat back in Egypt every day. And we want Malaysians to eat that every day as well. Loyalty is just putting yourself in the customer's shoes and making sure that, all right, well, I guess the major benefit was to understand my customers better and actually to give them what they deserve. Because basically, what I see is that loyalty is the lifeline that each and every business should have. And actually, without having loyal customers, you cannot sustain yourself in a business. I mean, the rule says that it's 80-20, right? So basically, 20% of your customers are bringing 80% of your profits. But the question is, everybody knows that, and everybody almost believes in that. But the question is, are you able to recognize who are you 20% of customers? That was the challenge. So basically, every time I come to the restaurant, I see familiar faces that I know. But at the same time, I cannot track back the performance, the behavior, right? Like how much they spend and how many times they come to the store. When I first was introduced to UDS, it was so interesting for me to get to know that in one click on a button, I can get to know exactly how much this customer has spent and how many times he visited, right? So you can reward them for their loyalty to you. So number one reason was basically to better understand and consequently reward the customers that are loyal to you. Number two was the consistent communication with the customers. So whenever you have a new update, whenever you have like new recipe, like new dish, or even an offer to the customers, you can send them that over the app, right? That was the second reason that I was thinking UDS was very, very important for it. Number three factor was basically and this is so related to the restaurant business, it's related to the feedback, right? We get lots of people every day, we get lots of transactions, more than any other business, I guess, right? So, and the internet space is so dangerous for us. If customer wants you to give you a feedback that can hurt your business 100% if it's negative. So basically, we are trying to give the customer a channel to communicate the feedback. I'm not saying secretly, but privately and less damaging, right? So what they do is that after each and every transaction, that's what I get to learn, and that's what encouraged me to be with UDS, is that after each and every transaction, they can star you, give you a star, and then they can even give you a feedback on the food. And you can respond to that and you can fix the damage internally without being exposed online, which is something they cannot return back. So that's one of the very important features, and all of that is integrated in one place. So the feedback is related to how much this customer has spent, so you can have the contact details of the customer, and then you can track him back. So one of them, let's compare this to Google, for example. So a lot of people, they leave us feedback on Google. Number one challenge is that it's there. Everybody can see. and it exposes you negatively to the other customers. It prevents your business from growing. That's number one. Number two, it's so challenging to get hang of the contact details of this customer to be able to communicate with him further, like getting his phone number or even email address. Google does not allow you to get that like easily, right? So what you need to do is that you respond to the feedback and then you ask them to DM you their phone number or details. And 90% of the time, customers do not even respond to that. So you don't have a proper communication channel to get this problem rectified and to decrease the damage out of it. So the feedback point and advantage of UDS is very, very crucial to me. Number four reason why I think I chose UDS is the KPI part, the key performance indicator, which is basically allow you to treat each and every person of your staff as a production unit. So you can get to know exactly what's the productivity level, like how productive they are in terms of so many other parameters that you can put in there, so many other indicators that you can set for them. So number of customers that they bring on board, that's one factor. The other factor is the total sale. The other factor is the number of transactions that they do. The other factor is the average bill, which is very, very important part in our business. So basically, at the end of the month, you have the ability to get to know where your weakness is coming from and what part they need to work on. That based on your business strategy. It aligns basically the goals of the institution, of the business, of the restaurant with the goals of the staff. So both of them, and this is one major challenge that a lot of business owners they face. They do have certain goals to pursue, but at the same time, the staff are not really sharing the same interest. They're not moving towards the same goal somehow. So basically, by putting the right, what do you call that? Like by putting the right incentive plan and clarifying the goals for each and every party, everybody would be moving towards the same goal, which is something really interesting. So in a summary, I guess these are the main four reasons that I have chosen UDS for. I guess first of all, the 10% cashback. That's what I give. The 10% cashback. That's what I give, and this is something interesting for a lot of people. It creates this kind of like long term. The cashback like model of reward is I think one of the best giveaways that my customers get out of this model. Number two, which is very, very important and very, very unique, which is the recommendation feature. So even if you don't spend, you don't get only to be rewarded for your spending, which is the cashback reward, but as well you get rewarded for whatever your contacts spend in the restaurant or in the business. So basically, you have the ability, instead of just like calling somebody or casually talking about a certain restaurants that you like, well, you can digitally like recommend them to this store and you can be rewarded for that. So this is one of the other takeaways that the customers now can enjoy. So it's not anymore the only way you get rewarded just by spending. Now you can be rewarded without even spending a penny. So this is one new feature that we are talking about. Referral has been there everywhere, but digitizing this process this way and making it that easy to be shared is something really new that captured my interest. So I think these are the main takeaways that I think my customers can get. Any priority? They have the priority to be offered some like special offers and whatever. So that's another maybe advantage that we can get out of this. And one very nice thing that I've tried myself is we had a sort of a competition here in the restaurant, and the takeaway, the prize for that was to eat at Toots for a year, free of charge, right? With certain terms and conditions, right? So, well, I used UDS for that. How? Which is basically, the winner from this competition, he was given a credit that he can use for a year. And each and every month, I top up his credit so he can come to the store and eat for free just by showing his credit to the staff. So that's another way to reward your customers the way you want, based on prizes, competitions, contests, whatever you want, and make them more committed to not only using the app for redeeming the points, but also for recommending to their friends and getting used to the being your local customer. Be on the phone always. That's that. So one of the benefits that I've basically made use of is this reward. Without it, it would have been very, very complicated to give him vouchers or to give him like whatever kind of credit. It would have been very, very hard. But with UDS, it was very simple. Word of mouth is a customer acquisition strategy. So it can be compared at the end of the day, right? So, and when you measure all these, what you've mentioned, all the traditional, whether ATL or BTL, like TV, radio, newspapers, or even like social media or like email marketing or whatever kind of or flyers or brochures or vouchers or whatever you call it. So you can compare that to word of mouth, definitely. And when you compare again the level of credibility of these channels to the word of mouth, well, word of mouth is 100% more credible, right? So whatever helps you, and UDS does that, whatever helps you promote more through the word of mouth, it's absolutely advisable. And that's what UDS does, which is actually over just using the word of mouth, but actually digitizing the word of mouth. And this is like something, making it more digital process and traceable from our side as merchants. Because one of the disadvantages of the word of mouth is you have no control over it. You cannot measure this, and you cannot achieve whatever you cannot measure. That's another rule. So basically, word of mouth before, it used not to be measurable. Now with UDS, it's measurable. You can easily measure the word of mouth and its effect. And you can reward your customer based on that. It's a very, very win situation, win-win kind of situation, right? But there's another dimension of things, which is basically UDS as a loyalty platform. You cannot compare UDS as a loyalty platform to other advertising channels, right? Because again, this is a retention mechanism. And retention is different from acquisition. Retention is a strategy or activity that you do in order to retain whoever goes into your shop to stay as your customer, to stay with your shop. But acquisition is whoever was not destined to be your customer, but because of this strategy or this activity or this acquisition, whatever initiative that you've done, now they are coming to your place. So it's kind of sequential process. First of all, you have to acquire, then you have to retain. So UDS does two functions basically. It helps you acquire through the recommendation and digitizing the word of mouth, and it helps you retain when customers come inside the shop. And that's the beauty about the thing. But again, I cannot undervalue the importance of marketing and advertising specifically, whether is it like ATL or BTL, again, social media, digital, or even on the ground. But again, it's just putting each and everything in its place. UDS does two functions on the two sides, acquisition and retention. But marketing and advertising cannot help you retain customers unless you have the proper retention strategy, which is basically keeping your customers stay as your customers. You are giving them whatever you expect to get. So at the end of the day, all the time I think of this, like, what would make me happy if I am a certain like patron or regular at one place? I mean, very, very simple example, and I'm so comfortable to say it. It's like Starbucks, for example. So where I work, where my office is, every time I go, they greet me by name, right? So they know me and they know my name. And there's something that makes you feel like every time I pass by Starbucks, I just want to get one. But I do feel that they have captured my attention enough and my interest enough and my loyalty enough to go back to them again. So simple gestures that has nothing to do with the actual drink that they offer me. Exactly. So they play with the emotions and they make you feel belonging to the place. They make you feel, important somehow, right? So that's I think how it works. Loyalty is part of it is functional and benefits that you get out of this being loyal to that place. And part of it, big part of it, is it relies on emotions. So it's not a mathematical process that customers follow before they be local. They become local to a certain business. It's more of an emotional thing that you feel attracted to, even if you don't get the best out of this place. So yeah, I think loyalty is kind of complicated formula to be achieved. Yeah, it's the way to it is very very simple, and everybody knows how to apply it. It's just the amount of focus that you put in there to get your customers loyal to you. That's what matters. Well, yeah. First of all, before going into the details, I don't think that I am uh, making use 100% of the features that I can get on UDS. And that's why whatever I achieved right now is is not the best that could be done yet. Uh, Now I have a tool to tell me what's my return rate, giving me even the number that tells me if I'm doing good or not. So it's like sort of an indication. You know that red light that tells you, well, you gotta be careful. That's one benefit that I get from UDS. It tells me what that my return rate is like that X, right? And you need to work on that better. So that's number one benefit that I get out of it. Number two is that I do notice, 100%, I do notice from the comments of the customers as well. I mean, every time the customer comes in, he leaves a comment on the food, whether positive or negative, appreciation or a complaint. So basically, you get to know that there are regulars coming back to your place. And every time you respond to that, the next time he visits, he feeds you back again. So it's sort of like maintaining this kind of communication that wasn't there. In a complete, clear thread of communication that you get to know the history of communication between you and the customer. Exactly. You're building a long-term relationship. And based on the previous experience, you can build your next answer. So you're not a robot. You're not just responding to separate comments from customers. You're seeing this as a body, as the whole situation. You're seeing from the first visit until the last one. So that's the beauty of keeping a one thread of communication between you and the customers, right? So, well, again, back to the point, it's not about the benefits that I get. It's about being alert and what needs to be worked on. So that's another like benefit that I've got from UDS so far. Well, again, I would say before that, I wouldn't have any kind of measure of performance from any of my staff. Now everybody is having his own cashier application. I can get to know the KPIs, the performance day by day. So that's another reading that this UDS app is giving me, so that I can reward, warn, train, motivate whoever is missing on any of the parameters. So again, it's another very important reading that I get from UDS. So I would rather to call them eye openers than achievements that I've done so far. It gives me an indication on what to start with, how to move on, what needs to be developed, what needs to be worked on, than just being something to say that I've achieved so far. Achievement is yet to come. But so far, I'm very, very happy with the insights, with the readings that I can get from UDS so far. I've never had the chance to have this kind of integrated platform that gives me all this kind of information in one place. So I guess there are a lot of other potential benefits that I can get, and a lot of other things that needs to be achieved on UDS. Depends on how much you utilize the system, how much you make use out of it. But so far, yeah, that's what I get from it. I'm very happy with it. Absolutely, you can figure this out. I mean, if one of the main features of UDS is the recommendation, right? So if I look at my system, I can easily know how much in monetary amount, a parameter, right? Like how much money did I make just because of the recommendation? And that's one very important, nice feature that you can get. So basically, you can get to know because of the recommendation features, those customers have visited the shop without any chance to know about me, but from their friends. So from my original customers, how much I got from the second, the third, the fourth, and the recommendation levels of my customers. So if you look at it right now, I have already like made like five folds profits and revenues as much as I invested in UDS in the first place. So if you look at it from a very marketing and ROI perspective, I have I mean, how do you say that? Like I have made five folds of returns the amount I spent on UDS to have UDS in 6 months. Yeah, more than five folds even. Now we're talking. So yeah, I mean, if you even look at it from a pure commercial perspective, an ROI calculation, absolutely it works. Absolutely it works. With the amount of effort that I'm putting on UDS, which is not very much, I guess if I put more effort, this number will even double, triple. Can be. So that's with minimal effort that I'm doing on the recommendation part. If you focus your attention on the recommendation part more, definitely you can get more. Absolutely.